Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Tuesday, October the 14th. The year's 2025. Let's talk trading. Trading is mental. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. As always, have your risk management in place. That way you don't lose more than you're willing to lose on any one single trade or any time you're trading at all. Now, today's topic, trading is mental. How I came to pick this topic was I was watching a video uh, from a pool player, and he was talking about how, um, if you're playing competitive pool, which I don't play competitive pool, but he was saying that, the hardest opponent is yourself. Because when you shoot pool, your opponent's sitting down and waiting for you to miss or mess up or foul or something. Because if you don't, they can't do anything. So if you think about trading, when you're trading, the your opponent aren't necessarily the other traders. Your opponent is you, because you enter a trade based on your rules. Now, the thing is, do you actually follow your rules? Because if you don't, then that's a mental problem that you have to fix. Because if you don't follow your own rules, um, there's nothing that anybody else is doing against you. If it's not working out, you have to go, stand in front of the mirror and say, you know what, I didn't follow a rule. Because one of the things I noticed in my own trading is, I've said many times, I'm Mr. Inflection. And yesterday, um, I got in a trade and I got in a pip too late. And guess what? It inflected on me. Now, that was my fault. Um, I should have just said, you know what? I missed that boat. Trying to jump, the boat's is sailing away and I go running, down the dock, and then, and the boat's already away from the dock, and then I try and jump onto the boat. Well, guess what? If I don't make that jump and I fall in the water, that's not the boat's fault. That's my fault. Well, it's the same thing with trading. Not following my rules, you know, made me have to suffer for a while. Because had I followed my rules, I could at least gotten a pip or gotten out, scratched a trade. Instead, I got stuck in it for, I think, over an hour. All my fault. So, you know, you are your toughest opponent. Once you're in the trade, then again, if you've got rules when to exit, your risk management, and you break those rules, once again, it comes back to you. Now, um, I haven't shown, these screens in a while, but I always say, you have to have a huddle with yourself. Like in football, between each trade, or in football, between each play, they get in a huddle usually, unless they're doing a hurry up offense. But, in the huddle, it's like, hey, you got to say, okay, here's what we're going to do on this play. And so you talk to yourself. You say, hey, you know what? If things are going against me, I'm either going to exit with the small loss, I'm going to exit with the small loss, and then I'll reverse the trade, or I'll ride the loss and I'll reverse and then, maybe add in later. Or if you're up, you say, hey, I could exit with the profit, I could add to the position when in profit, I could average in. Those are all the things you can do, when you're in a trade. So you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I've talked about the exit playbook before. And then the other thing is, if you are yelling at the screen, beating the computer with your fist or throwing it across the room, kicking and screaming and just hollering and yelling, this goes back to you again, brain management. You are your toughest opponent. You're your hardest opponent because you're going to maybe start talking negative to yourself, and that doesn't do any good. It really doesn't, you know. And usually I'll call myself, stupid, stupid. It's like, no, it's what I need to do is check myself before I wreck myself and say, I'm going to be smart this time. And you have to put those indicators, and I don't mean indicators on the screen, but those indicators in your brain that say, hey, when you feel that you're getting ready to, tilt or start to get on yourself, it's like you got to recognize it and pull yourself out of that spiral and say, hey, this is the positive action I need to take, whether it's, cut the trade or ride with it. And make sure, there's no fear because, what are you really afraid of when you think about it? Are you afraid somebody's going to think you're stupid or you're not a good trader? I mean, what's that fear really coming from? Fear you're not going to be able to pay your bills because you lost so much money. Fear, somebody's going to be mad at you because you lost that money other than yourself. And that's one reason why you need to keep your business your business. Or, are you going to look back over the session and regret? And it's like, you just have to get all this stuff out of your head because, once again, pain does not come from the market. It's coming from your reaction to the market. And that's true in life. I think there's a lot of famous Stoics and ancient that, said things like, what happens in the world, but you can control your reaction. I think Viktor Frankl was one, and I forget which Stoic said it, but that's really the only thing you can control is your reaction. Um, some things are maybe a little tougher than others, but you got to work on it. You get in a trade and immediately it reverses on you. That's just part of trading. You have to learn to accept it. You have to be okay with the loss. And, you're dealing with money and you need to be okay with the loss. It's like going into the casino. Yeah, you want to come out a winner, but sometimes you're going to come out a loser. You got to be okay with that. Yeah, you might not like it, but it's like, so long as you stuck to your guns, if you said, okay, I'm going to bet $100 or wait or have that's my risk. And if I lose $100, I'm okay with that. So long as you stick to that, you're down 100, you lost it, all your chips are gone, you walk out of the casino. You don't walk out and go to the ATM and walk back in. No, 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 no. That's not part of the plan. So you really have to stick to your guns there. You know, and once again, talking about the brain psychology, you know, thoughts and beliefs, that's what you have to work on. If you have certain thoughts, certain beliefs, if they don't serve you, you have to change them because that's going to make you feel a certain way. That's going to affect your attitude, and your attitude is going to affect your behavior and actions. That's why, this is the base. You go up from there. So until your thoughts and beliefs change, your actions will not change. That's true in life too. That's the thing about trading. A lot of times trading can be a mirror to your life. It's a microcosm of your macro life, meaning it's a part of. And so as your life is, that's your trading. As you're trading, that's your life. And if you take an honest evaluation of self, you can probably see some parallels. The things that upset you in life upset you in trading. The things that upset you in trading upset you in life. And it's like if you get upset at a lot of little things and these little things aren't in your control, then you're going to have a tough time. But if you just, kind of learn to roll with the punches and you stick into your plan, then things most likely should work out for you. you know. And, once again, the thing about trading is we're dealing with money. And when you're trading, that's the reason you're trading, is you want to make money, whether it's in Forex or stocks, options, futures, whatever it is. The whole goal is to make money. That's the goal. To get to the goal, you have to stick to the plan, because it's the process that will produce the results. So the idea is, it's not whether you win or lose in the short term, it's did you follow the process? Because it's not this isn't a one trade make or break it thing. It's not like this is your only opportunity. This is the only trade you'll ever make. So it has to be a winner. That's not it. No, you get to trade over and over and over, unless you wind up losing all your money. But, the one at the bottom, every win is luck because you don't control the outcome. That is one of the things that can really make the difference in your trading. If you accept the fact that when you win, you got lucky because you didn't control that outcome. You did not make the market move your way. Market moved your way, you took profit. And so that's just how it is, because once you understand that, then the whole perspective shifts, and you realize that, as Walmart likes to say, preserve capital, because the idea is you have to have enough capital to stay in the game. And so you are your hardest opponent. You are your toughest opponent. You have to overcome your inadequacies, your failures. And you do that by having a simple plan. We've gone over trading plans before, and you just work on sticking to it. And when something goes wrong, or when something's not working out the way you want it to, don't look to find new indicators or tinkering. Look to see if you are doing everything the way you are supposed to do it. And if that's the case, and over a period of time you're still losing, that's when you start adding indicators or switching systems or something. So just looking at the charts here, and we can see the pound, well, it's just over 33, so we're at 32.99 at the moment. Been kind of an interesting trading day. You can see here we broke out of the previous day's low big time. And here you see we broke out of that low, but we've turned around. And yesterday was an inside bar, so anybody taking that trade would have been rewarded. Lots of inside bar action, I guess because it was a bank holiday. And you can see we've got a bunch of pairs over 100. The yen sitting at 99 at the moment. Pound at 104. And the euro Australians leading the pack at 223. You can see here we dropped below the weekly open, dropped below the daily, and it was all downhill. Now you can see it ranged and then turned right back up. Green rats are feasting. This wasn't a feast of red rats because the range wasn't large enough at the time. Bambino flex indicator was talking a short. Pivot trading plan was talking a short. So once again, those simple plans. So fellow traders, you just have to realize, you are your toughest opponent. And that reiterates, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.